At 6 every morning, a bedroom in Tokyo disappears. The futon gets folded into thirds, pushed into a closet called an oshir, and by 7 a.m., there's no bed left in the room at all, just floor. That's not a trick of a tiny apartment. It's a system, one that's been quietly working for centuries, long before anyone used the word minimalism. And it's why a 6-tatami mat bedroom, about 98 square feet, can feel roomier than a Western bedroom twice its size, stacked with furniture that only ever gets used for a third of the day. You don't need a Japanese-style room to use this. You need the 12 ideas behind it. And number 9 is the one most people get backwards, the habit that quietly undoes every other item on this list if you skip it. Stay until the end, because after item 12 there's a 2-question test you can run on any drawer in your house tonight, in under 2 minutes, plus 1 bonus habit almost nobody talks about. Number 1. The fold-away sleep system. A shikabuton, a thin cotton mattress, gets laid directly on the floor at night and folded away by morning. No bed frame, no box spring eating floor space 24 hours a day whether you're using it or not. There's a second layer to this most people miss. Traditionally, the futon isn't just folded, it's aired. Hung outside in the sun for a few hours, which naturally kills dust mites and stops mold before it starts. The bed isn't just hidden. It's actively maintained instead of silently degrading under you for years while you sleep on it every night without a second thought. If a full floor sleeping setup isn't realistic for you, the underlying principle still transfers. Anything that can fold, roll, or stack should never sit out unused, taking up square footage it hasn't earned. Number 2. Nothing above knee height near the walls. Traditional rooms keep furniture low and close to the floor. Picture 2 rooms the same size. One has a 6-foot dresser 3 feet from the door. The other has nothing taller than your knee anywhere near the walls. Your eye stops at the dresser in the first room, and everything behind it quietly disappears from how the space feels. In the second, your eye travels the full length of the room uninterrupted, all the way to the far wall. That's not decoration. That's how a small room tricks your brain into reading as open, using nothing but where furniture sits in relation to your eye line. Number 3. The Osher question. Before anything goes into a Japanese closet, it's asked one question. Does this belong in today's life? Not 5 years ago, not someday. Today. This is the first step of a philosophy called Dansere, 3 characters meaning refuse, dispose, separate. Dan is refusal, stopping unnecessary things at the door before they ever reach your shelf. Most decluttering advice starts at your shelf, sorting through what's already there. Dansere starts earlier, at your front door, before the object even enters the room in the first place. Number 4. Sha, the second step, is disposal without guilt. Japan has a concept called mottainai, a sense of regret at wasted value. On the surface, it sounds like a reason to keep everything, to never let anything go to waste. It's actually the opposite. An unused item sitting in a drawer for 3 years wastes its value more than donating it ever could. Somebody else could be wearing that jacket, using that lamp, reading that book right now. Keeping it unused on your shelf isn't respecting its value, it's slowly erasing it, 1 unused year at a time. Number 5. The third step, is separation, detaching your identity from your possessions. A closet full of maybe someday clothes isn't storage. It's a museum of who you used to be, or who you're hoping to become on some unscheduled future date. Every time you open that closet, you're not choosing an outfit. You're being quietly reminded of a version of yourself that isn't here yet, and maybe never arrives. Letting go of the clothes doesn't erase the goal. It just stops the goal from taking up drawer space you need right now. Number 6. One object, one address. Every item in a Japanese bedroom has exactly one place it returns to. Not somewhere in this drawer, not wherever there's room today. One spot, always. Think about your phone charger right now, this second. Do you know exactly where it is without looking? Or is it one of 3 possible places floating in your head? A nightstand, a bag, the kitchen counter. When your brain doesn't have to search, it doesn't have to remember, and a room with fewer things to remember feels lighter even before you've removed a single object from it. 6 down, 6 to go. But everything so far assumes the room stays organized once you've done the work. There's one habit still coming, later on this list, that actually decides whether it does, or slowly falls apart again over the following weeks, the way most organizing efforts eventually do. Number 7. Vertical before horizontal. Traditional kiri-tansu, chests built from paulonia wood, stack upward instead of spreading across the floor. Paulonia wasn't chosen for looks alone. The wood naturally regulates humidity, protecting fabric stored inside it from moisture and pests in a country where summers get humid fast and mildew is a real problem for stored clothing. Before buying a wider dresser that eats more floor space, ask whether the same items could stack instead of sprawl outward. Height is free real estate you're probably not using yet, all the way up to the ceiling. Number 8. Sliding over swinging. Fuzuma and shoji, the sliding panels used throughout Japanese homes, need 0 clearance to open. A swinging closet door eats a 2-foot arc of usable room every single time you open it. Space you can never put furniture in because the door needs to swing through it, whether you're using that space or not. That arc is dead space you're paying rent on, permanently, just so a door can open the way doors have always opened in most homes without anyone questioning it. Number 9. Here's the one. Keep work and exercise out of the sleep zone. It sounds unrelated to organizing a room, but it undoes all 8 ideas above if you break it. A laptop left on the nightstand or a set of dumbbells in the corner doesn't just clutter the space, it teaches your brain to associate the bedroom with output instead of rest. Sleep scientist Matthew Walker has pointed out that the brain doesn't only remember time, it remembers place. If the room that's supposed to mean rest also quietly means unfinished emails or an unfinished workout, your brain never fully downshifts there, no matter how organized the shelves look or how empty the walls are. Many Japanese households treat the bedroom as a single-purpose room for exactly this reason. No desk, no treadmill, no exception, not even a small one you tell yourself doesn't really count because it's just for now. Number 10. Keep the imperfect version. Wabi-sabi is the appreciation of imperfect, natural things, the idea that a slightly worn wooden shelf can hold more presence than something brand new and untouched. It fits a small bedroom better than a matching 5-piece set, for a very practical reason too. You won't hesitate to actually use a piece you're not afraid to scratch or mark. One functional object you reach for daily beats a full matching set you're secretly protecting from your own life, keeping it pristine for a use that never quite arrives. Number 11. Leave one wall empty. Ma is the idea that empty space is part of the design, not a gap waiting to be filled with one more shelf or frame. This isn't just aesthetic theory. Researchers at the Princeton Neuroscience Institute, studying the human visual cortex, found that multiple objects competing in the same visual field suppress each other's neural processing, meaning your brain genuinely works harder in a visually busy room, whether or not you consciously notice it happening. One bare wall in a bedroom isn't unfinished. It's the one place your eyes and your attention actually get to rest instead of quietly processing one more object. Number 12. The one-touch return. When you take something out, its journey ends the moment you put it back. Not later tonight. Not on the way to bed. The moment you're done with it, straight back to its one address. No detour through the dresser or the floor. This single habit, more than any storage system on this list, is what keeps a small room from slowly refilling with everything you just spent an afternoon organizing, one small delayed decision at a time. Now, before the test, I promised, one bonus habit almost nobody talks about, because it happens outside the bedroom entirely. The Genken, the small entryway just inside a Japanese front door, exists to stop clutter before it ever reaches the rest of the house, including the bedroom. Shoes come off there. Bags get set down there. Whatever the day brought in gets filtered right at the threshold, so it never has the chance to migrate room by room until it lands, days later, on your bedroom floor. If your bedroom keeps refilling no matter how often you reset it, the leak might not be in the bedroom at all. It might be that nothing in your home has a threshold the way a Genken does. Now, the test I promised. 2 questions, 1 drawer, under 2 minutes. Open any drawer or shelf in your bedroom and pick up the first thing you touch. Question 1. If I didn't own this today, would I go out and buy it again? Question 2. Does this object give me calm, or does it give me guilt, obligation, or just in case? If the answer to both is no, its journey is already over. You're just the one holding the door open, keeping it here out of habit rather than need. You don't need a bigger bedroom for any of this. You need fewer unfinished decisions sitting quietly around the room. Tonight, don't reorganize the whole space. Pick 1 drawer, run the 2-question test. Let the answer decide for you, honestly, without arguing yourself back into keeping it. If you tried just one thing from this list, try number 9. Comment reset and tell me which of these 12 you're starting with tonight, and share this with someone whose bedroom has slowly turned into a second office.